On the 17th of July in 2005, Mike and I completed the longest passage of the sail from Florida to Portugal on my 42-foot ketch Sarah when we dropped anchor in the harbor at Lajes on the Portuguese island of Flores. For the next 5 weeks we would cruise the islands of the Azores before departing for the mainland of Portugal. The Azores are an archipelago of 9 islands and is a semi-autonomous region of Portugal. Flores is the westernmost island where we would spend a week resting, touring, and meeting new cruising friends. Just north of Flores is the tiny island of Corvo. A 130 nautical miles to the east of Flores is the island of Faial and the harbor at Horta. This is the principal yachting center in the islands. Next to Faial is the island of Pico, with the tallest mountain in the island chain. Directly north of Faial is the cigar-shaped island of Azores. To the east of Azores is Terceira, the most densely populated of the islands. To the north is Graciosa. "90 nautical miles to the east-southeast of Terceira is the largest island of São Miguel. This is the seat of government for the Azores and the principal tourist destination. To the south of São Miguel is Santa Maria. We would have liked to have visited all of the islands, but we only visited 5, starting with Flores. This is a view of the harbor at Lajes on the south end of the island, as shown by Google Earth in 2017. In 2005, there was no marina at the head of the harbor. This is Sarah at anchor in Lajes. The large mole or dock provided some protection for the harbor, but it was still wide open to the northeast. Seas rolled into the anchorage and made it a little rough. This is the dinghy dock for the harbor and where we and the other cruisers could come ashore. the lighthouse at Punta das Lajes. We had to climb most of the 600-meter hill above the harbor to get the shops and services. This included the biblioteca, or public library, where we were able to get access to the internet. Mike and I spent the better part of a day catching up on emails and the news of the world for the 2 weeks we were at sea. Halfway up the hill was Paula's place, a restaurant run by Paula, shown here with her husband, Emerlindo. Paula's place was the principal meeting location for cruisers on the island. Some of the cruisers were a little more boisterous than others. On our second day on Flores, we met Jean-Gilles, a single-hander from Quebec, shown here on the left with Mike. Jean-Gilles introduced us to other Quebecers on 2 other boats that had arrived in Flores the same day as Mike and I. We would spend a lot of time with these sailors while cruising through the islands. We all wanted to tour this beautiful island, so Hermelindo arranged for a guide and a couple of taxis to give us a tour. Flores means flower in Portuguese, and no place I've visited deserves the name more than this island. The principal flower is hortensia, which has been planted and cultivated on nearly every road and fence on the island. Flores, like all of the islands, is volcanic, with several dormant craters or calderas. The lakes in these calderas feed a number of spectacular waterfalls. Several of our Quebec friends went swimming in the pool at the base of this fall. They are from the Great White North, and they described the water as a little cold. Mike and I would have probably found it more than a little cold. Later that day, we drove to the top of the volcanoes. This is the island of Corvo as viewed from Flores. This is one of the pristine lakes that have formed in the craters on Flores. Santa Cruz is the principal city on Flores and contains the only airport on the island. As you can see, the airport is in Santa Cruz. No one has to go far to catch a flight here. This is the old whaling factory at Santa Cruz. Until Portugal banned whaling in the 1980s, the Azores supported a major whaling industry, as the island lies on a migration path for a number of whale species. This is the harbor at Santa Cruz. Until the mole was constructed at Lajes in the 1990s, this was the only protected anchorage at Flores. Clermont and Pierrette, two of our Quebec friends, were on their third sail to Flores. On the previous two trips, they anchored here in Santa Cruz. In spite of its rolling nature, they much prefer anchoring at Lajes. We are all coming to the end of our stay on Flores and preparing to depart for Horta. Jean-Gilles promoted a cookout on the beach in Lodges and arranged through Paula to get a large fish. The other Quebec boats brought several side dishes. Mike and I brought a number of bottles of Portuguese wine, such as the Vino Verde that Jean-Gilles is opening. This is the remains of our dinner. After dinner, we started a fire and enjoyed its warmth. This is Diane and Leo from the yacht Boris. Clermont and Pierrette from Florian, with Indy from Boris. Jean-Gilles and myself enjoying after-dinner cigars. The weather forecast showed some nasty weather coming in the next 48 hours. Mike and I, along with Jean-Gilles, departed the next day, hoping to beat that weather into Horta. Boris and Florian remained in Lodges until the weather had passed. This is Jean-Gilles on his westerly longbow catch, Bermuda. Our next stop was Horta, on the island of Fayal.